They say curiosity kills, but no one told me it could resurrect the past. When Lyra's phone rang during dinner, it wasn't a ringtone I heard. It was the ocean. The sound of waves roaring inside a room with no open windows. Her eyes froze, her hands trembled, and she whispered, "Don't answer it." But how could I not, when the voice on the other end knew my name before I even spoke? Who was calling from a number that doesn't exist? And why did it sound like someone I once loved? Centuries ago? The silence after the ring was heavier than thunder. Lyra's lips trembled as she said it again. "Don't touch my phone." But her voice wasn't a warning. It was a plea. There was grief in her tone, like she'd buried something sacred beneath that glowing screen. And for the first time, I saw it, the faint mark on her wrist, shaped like a tide symbol, pulsing with light. I tried to laugh it off, to make it sound normal. But normal had already drowned. She looked at me like a woman keeping a promise she wished she'd never made. Outside, the sea hissed against the rocks, whispering something only she seemed to understand. When I reached for her hand, she pulled away, not in anger, but in fear. "If you see what's inside that phone," she whispered, "you'll remember everything. And remembering is what kills us." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, like someone reliving a nightmare. That night, I lay awake listening to the sea breathe against the shore. I could still hear the ringtone, the same melody that haunted my dreams as a child. And beneath the sound of waves, I swear I heard a voice. Mine, calling her name. I told myself I wouldn't look. But the moment she left the room, the phone unlocked itself. No passcode. Just one new message. It wasn't a voice note. It was a recording of waves crashing, then a whisper that bled through the static. "Arlen, you promised her the sea." My breath froze, because I had, though I didn't know when. The voice in the message wasn't mine, but it knew everything about me, every secret, every word I'd never spoken aloud. Then came the sound of a woman crying, her sobs echoing like they were underwater, and faintly a heartbeat. Two hearts beating in time, then fading apart. Lyra burst into the room, eyes wide, the color drained from her face. "You listened to it?" she whispered, voice trembling. "Arlen, you weren't supposed to remember yet." The words struck me harder than any storm. Remember what? She told me the phone didn't belong to her, that it was the sea's way of keeping count, of every promise broken, every vow drowned. "We've lived this before," she said. "Each time we try to love again, the sea calls us back." I wanted to laugh, but the more she spoke, the more I remembered. I looked down at my wrist. A faint symbol was forming, identical to hers. The mark pulsed with warmth, like a heartbeat trapped beneath my skin. "It's starting again," she whispered. "He is remembering us." And that's when the phone rang once more, not with a ringtone, but with a heartbeat. That night, I dreamed of a lighthouse, standing alone in the sea. Its light wasn't gold. It was blue, pulsing like a heartbeat, calling my name. I saw her there, waiting at the top, hair soaked, eyes filled with sorrow, older than the world. And when she turned, it wasn't Lyra's face I saw. It was someone I used to love before time forgot our names. When I woke, salt clung to my hands, The sheets were wet, and my heart was still racing with the rhythm of the tide. Lyra was already awake, staring at me like she'd been waiting for me to open my eyes. "You went back there," she said softly. "The lighthouse remembers you." She told me the lighthouse wasn't real. Not anymore. It sank 100 years ago, along with the two lovers who defied the sea goddess Nerida. But every generation, their souls found each other again, and every time, they drowned together once more. "We keep meeting," she whispered, "because we never learn." When she said her name wasn't always Lyra, something inside me cracked open. I saw flashes, fire, lightning, waves swallowing the sky, and her voice screaming my name as the sea took us both. The dream wasn't a dream. It was a memory breaking through. I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't a stranger or a lover. She was both. My heart ached with recognition and fear. The phone on the table lit up again, this time showing an image of the lighthouse rising from the sea. And I finally understood. The phone wasn't calling us. It was remembering us. Lyra told me the story. As the wind howled outside, the story of two souls who defied the sea. "Once," she said, "there was a goddess named Nerida who gave mortals the gift of eternal love. But when one of them betrayed that vow, she cursed them to find each other in every life, only to lose one another again." And when she looked at me, I already knew which of us was the one who broke the vow. The sea goddess, Nerida, wasn't cruel, just betrayed. The mortals she blessed had vowed to keep her secret, to never speak her name aloud beneath the moon. But the man she loved had broken that vow to save the woman he adored, and the goddess turned that love into their punishment. "Every time you remember me," Lyra whispered, "the sea wakes up." I wanted to deny it, but the marks on our wrists were glowing brighter now, pulsing with the same rhythm as the waves outside. She lifted her wrist to mine, and when they touched, I saw everything. The shipwreck, the vow, the goddess' eyes filled with tears. I had begged her for one more lifetime, and she had given it to us at the cost of our peace. Lyra stepped back, trembling. "If the phone rings one last time," she said, "it means the sea has made its choice. One of us must go back beneath." My throat closed. "And if we don't answer?" Her eyes met mine, full of love and sorrow. "Then the storm will take us both." As thunder shook the sky, the phone began to vibrate again. The same heartbeat rhythm, the same blue glow. And this time, the name on the screen wasn't Unknown Tide. It said Nerida. Lyra's breath caught. Mine stopped. Because the goddess wasn't calling to curse us. She was calling to collect what she was owed. The storm raged as if the ocean itself wanted in. Lyra stood by the door, soaked in moonlight, her fingers trembling around the phone. "It's time," she whispered. "The sea wants one of us back." I wanted to tell her no, that we could outrun fate, but the waves outside were already chanting her name. She smiled, not with joy, but with the kind of peace that comes after endless pain. "If I go," she said softly, "the curse will end. You'll forget me, and you'll live." I shook my head. "You think I want to live in a world without you?" Her voice cracked. "That's the point, Arlen. You already have." I grabbed the phone, desperate. "If this is Nerida's game, Then I'll play it, I said. She can take me instead. Lyra's eyes widened in horror. No, that's not how it works. If you answer, we both vanish. The sea doesn't choose, it consumes. The phone pulsed brighter, as if listening to our fight. Then she did something I didn't expect. She kissed me. Not like someone saying goodbye, but like someone sealing a promise. When you forget me, she whispered, look for the tide that never stops moving. Her hand pressed mine over the phone. The screen flickered. The name Nerita began to fade, and I understood. She wasn't running from the curse. She was becoming its cure. When I opened my eyes, she was gone. Only the phone remained, cracked and dark, resting where she stood. Outside, the ocean had gone still for the first time in centuries. And in that silence, I heard her voice, faint and fading. The sea remembers you. I fell to my knees and whispered back. Then let it remember us both. For 3 nights, I sat alone in that house, waiting for a sound that never came. The sea was quiet, too quiet. But on the 4th night, the phone flickered back to life. No number, no name, just a single word on the screen, remember. And then it began to ring, slow, steady, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. When I answered, I didn't hear a voice. I heard the sea breathe. Then a whisper, soft as tide foam. You promised her forever. And suddenly, the world bent. The room flooded with light and salt. The air turned heavy with memory. I wasn't in the cottage anymore. I was standing in the lighthouse again. Lyra appeared before me, barefoot, drenched, her eyes full of sorrow and relief. You remembered, she whispered. That's all the sea ever wanted. I stepped forward, reaching for her. Then let it take me, not you. She smiled faintly. It already did. The goddess appeared in the light, not wrathful, but mournful. Her voice echoed through the waves. The promise is kept. The love endures. The curse ends. Lyra took my hand, and for a moment I felt the world stand still. Then the sea rose, swallowing the lighthouse, the sky, and us, not in destruction, but in reunion. In that final flash of blue light, I remembered everything. Every life, every loss, every time I'd let her go. And then, peace. The waves still. The phone sank to the bottom of the sea, its glow fading at last. And for the first time in eternity, the ocean went silent. They say the sea forgets nothing. But maybe, just maybe, it forgives. When I opened my eyes, there was no storm, no thunder, no goddess watching from the waves. Crust sunlight spilling through a window and the scent of salt in the air. The world felt new, but my heart carried the echo of something ancient, something warm. I didn't remember her name, or the vows we made, or the waves that swallowed us whole. But I remembered the feeling. And as I walked down the quiet street toward the ocean, I saw her standing there in the morning light, hair catching gold, eyes filled with the same peace I had searched for across lifetime. For one suspended heartbeat, time itself bowed its head. She turned just as I passed her table, our eyes meeting for the first time, or the 100th. She smiled like it meant nothing, but something deep inside me trembled. Sorry, she said, bumping my shoulder gently. Didn't see you there. I laughed, though I didn't know why. Her voice hit some buried chord inside me. Soft, familiar, heartbreakingly safe. For a moment, everything else blurred. The people, the wind, the world itself. I wanted to ask her name, but it felt wrong, like asking a song who composed it. Some things you just know. We ended up talking about nothing, and somehow about everything. About the sea breeze that carried the smell of rain, about the lighthouse ruins down the coast, about how certain dreams feel more like memories than imagination. When she spoke, I found myself finishing her sentences without meaning to. She laughed every time, but neither of us asked how or why. The ocean murmured in the background, gentle and forgiving now, like it was listening to our voices instead of our mistakes. In that moment, there was no curse, no goddess, no drowning past. Just two people rediscovering the rhythm they had never truly lost. The day faded into the kind of sunset you never want to end. Gold melting into violet, clouds like brushstrokes over the sea. She took out her phone to check the time, the cracked screen catching the dying light. "Don't mind this," she said with a shy smile. "It's been through a lot." Something inside me froze. That phrase. I'd heard it before, somewhere between lightning and salt water. I smiled back, gently, because my heart was already remembering what my mind had forgotten. "Yeah," I said, eyes soft. "So have we." She tilted her head, curious, maybe recognizing something she couldn't name. And for a heartbeat, the horizon shimmered blue, just once, before fading into dusk. That night, I walked the beach alone. The same shore that once drowned me, now soft beneath my feet. The waves whispered low, no longer a threat but a lullaby. I could almost hear her laughter, carried in the tide, each ripple singing the same word, home. I knew now that the sea hadn't cursed us. It had guarded us, kept our love safe until we were ready to live it without fear. And as I looked up at the stars reflected in the water, I realized that forever isn't a single lifetime. It's every time love finds its way back, and it always does.